Hello, everyone. It's July 8th, 2020, and this is St. Mark's at Midweek. I'm Carri Patterson-Grindon, and today we turn the tables on our host, Matt Wright. We're going to ask him some questions about putting these podcasts together every week. Hi, Matt.
Hi, Carri.
How you doing?
Fine. I feel strange. I'm in the wrong chair. I feel like I'm in the soundproof booth on a game show.
I think it's kind of fun. So, you mind if I ask you some questions?
Are you going to say, where does it all begin for Matt, right?
No.
Okay.
No, because we have a limited time.
Okay, that's
so.
fair.
But I do want to know. So we started down this road, this podcast road,
right.
The Midweek and the worship podcasts. And I think when we first started, we thought, this is going to tide us over for the few weeks that we're socially distanced.
As I remember, it was a 3 or 4 week deal at the outside.
We thought it would be 3 to 4 weeks. And here we are some more than 3 months later.
Oh, yeah.
And we're still producing. I should say you're still producing our podcast. We're working together, but you are doing incredible work to keep us connected. And I just wanted to ask you what keeps you going with this. What's been your experience of doing this? Is there any kind of spiritual dimension to it? And, how is this evolving for you?
Well, I would say it's a combination of things. First of all, I love this kind of work. This is the work I do regularly.
Right.
There may be some people that don't know that I produce commercials. Really specifically, it's been radio commercials all these years. So I love sound. I love working with sound. I love writing. I love asking questions of people. I did work on KPCC for 10 years interviewing
right.
people. And so all of this, it's a learned skill, but now it's like putting on a pair of comfortable shoes. So it's an easy thing for me to do because there's very little learning curve. So it is something I enjoy doing. The other thing is, in the face of this pandemic, when we had to close the church to in-person worship, I think it occurred to you and me about the same day that maybe there was something we could do
right.
to keep church going and to keep people in our orbit and in our embrace, even though we couldn't see them every day.
Mm-hmm.
And like a lot of other churches, I guess we could have gone to sort of online visual worship, and you and Betsy and whoever else could have gone down to church every Sunday and performed the service to an empty church. But I think we thought about it and thought maybe this would be a way to do worship the way we like to do it at St. Mark's, and part of what that is including the voices of so many other people.
Right.
And this is one way that we can do that allows everybody to participate. I guess for me, there really is a spiritual component to me. It's actually adds a dimension to my own worship. And to me, it's really a call to service.
It's fantastic, and it's your offering of your gifts, and as you say, not a sharp learning curve for you. You get to bring your gifts, sort of a busman's holiday for you. You're bringing the gifts that you have for your professional life,
right,
to bear and to gift our community. So
right.
It's been an incredible gift for us. Have there been any sort of surprise, kind of unexpected blessings along the way, or challenges in putting the podcast, either the midweek or the worship podcast, together?
Well, it's always a challenge, as it was this week, because that's why you're interviewing me, to figure out a really good guest.
Right.
So,
right.
And to be totally honest, I couldn't come up with it over July 4th, and I guess the ribs I ate got to me, so we're talking to me. So it is a challenge to sort of consider what people are interested in and what people would like to hear about, or what people should hear about that involves not only the church and the church community, but maybe extends the horizons of the church community a little bit.
It's wonderful.
And then Sunday has not been really a challenge, because the work is really done by so many people. You, Betsy, Sylvia Sweeney, Mark Robeson, Lisa Sylvester, and all of the people who volunteer to read week in and week out. And for some people, I realized this is a real mountain to climb.
Yes.
It's a real mountain to climb, to push the record button on your phone or whatever else and speak into it. And most people feel really exposed and really vulnerable doing that. And what amazes me is the great grace and confidence that people exhibit in their final recordings. Even if people, I have no way of knowing, people could be shaking like a leaf doing this.
Right.
And I'm sure
I think some are.
I'm sure some are.
Absolutely.
But it never comes out that way.
It's wonderful.
And so it's always a joy to hear those voices and hear how people really take those words and those readings to heart.
In our recent parish survey, the wardens put together, and our vestry put together a parish survey, and to hear how people are doing with the podcast, how they're doing with our socially distanced time as a community. And I would say the most consistent theme, especially with regards to the podcast, was people said over and over and over again how much they loved hearing the voices of the members of our community, what a comfort it was, how much they love hearing the podcast generally, but especially that Sunday morning, hearing everyone's voices. So that's a gift that you have helped us give to the congregation, which is really keeping people feeling connected to each other in wonderful ways. And also a way others can serve. You're serving, and they get to serve too by offering their voice.
I think in some ways, it's clearly a stopgap. It's not what we all, came to St. Mark's for originally. Oh, I'll go to St. Mark's and then I can listen to a podcast. But it has added, I think, an unexpected dimension to our community.
So you clearly love the human voice.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm assuming fell in love at a very early age with radio and with voice. Not that you're not also loving movies and other things, but specifically radio and the human voice have kind of captivated you from a young age. When did that first happen for you?
Oh, as soon as it's one of my earliest memories. Really, music and voice storytelling. My mother, if she were here, would actually brag that I could sing all the words to the soundtrack of The Sound of Music when I was 18 months old.
Is that in recording anywhere?
Not me singing it. No.
Darn. Because that would just be next week's midweek podcast, and we'd be done.
There are doubters. People doubt that story, but she's probably pretty close. And so from then on, I was always really listening to things, and I keyed into the radio early riding around with my parents in the car. And when I think the big thing was when I found out that these people on the radio that were coming from somewhere, I didn't know where, but when I realized that these people on the radio were making me laugh or making me think, where all of a sudden there were pictures in my head based on what these people were talking about, the stories they were telling, the sounds they were making. When that light went off, then it was for me it was sort of over, and I never really got over it. And then I had a brilliant neighbor, an older neighbor, Steve Schaefer, who's since gone on to become one of the world's leading anesthesiologists. And he was just a very precocious kid. And when he was in the 6th grade, I was about 5. And we became great friends. And he had a reel-to-reel tape recorder. And one day he showed me how I could become Alvin of Alvin and the Chipmunks just by, changing a few buttons on this tape recorder. And all of a sudden I would speak into it, and then all of a sudden he would play it back, and I sounded like Alvin. I was just destroyed. And
that was it.
And I thought, if I could just spend the rest of my life doing stuff like this, I would be very happy.
And here we are.
Yeah.
Did you ever imagine you would be able to use these gifts for this moment? I mean, we couldn't have anticipated this moment, but did you ever imagine you could use this for your church life, for your faith life?
I think in a way, yes, and maybe not specifically this. It's a hard thing to predict, something like this, but I think whatever skills I've developed, I've always tried to use them not just to make a living, either because it's fun or because it makes, it entertains somebody, it makes them laugh, it makes them happy, or it makes them feel better, stronger somehow, and uplifted, if possible.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody has these skills. Some people, people have their own great skills, and some people change the world with the skills they have. But if you are able to communicate with other people and share something you think is important or interesting or funny or colorful or moving, I think it's good to do that. And so I've always looked for ways to be able to use some of whatever skills I have to bring people up a little bit. And
fantastic.
So it's a nice, now it dovetails perfectly with church.
It's beautiful. And yeah, our community is pitching in all kinds of ways. People are bringing their individual gifts to bear in this incredibly challenging, difficult time. But I want to just thank you publicly, officially, on behalf of the parish for the way that your willingness to bring your gifts to the table and offer them in this way, how it's gifted us again, Matt. So just thank you so much for what you do. And what I imagine, if you're willing, you'll keep doing for us for at least through the summer and quite likely beyond. So I guess that's an official invitation to you to keep using those gifts.
We'll just keep right on going.
So grateful. I do want to say that this Sunday we're going to do something a little different. We have the podcast mostly ready to go for worship this Sunday. And we're going to add a dimension, and that is that we're going to gather on Zoom at 10:30 as a whole community and have a St. Mark's Church on-air listening party. So we'll gather on Zoom, we will greet one another, and then we'll turn it over to the podcast with the bulletin pulled up on the screen, and we will add our responses when it's time to respond. They'll be pre-recorded, but we can also respond in real time. At the end, when we exchange the piece, we'll stop screen share and we'll have pandemonium like we normally do at coffee hour and just do it on Zoom together. But we are going to try that out, have a time to all listen together to the podcast. So I'm looking forward to that. And, none of this would be possible, Matt, if you didn't bring your gifts to us. So thank you, thank you.
I'm looking forward to it. I was trying to think about how we could resurrect Mitch Miller and sing along with the bouncing ball, but
yeah, we're not sure we're going to be able to do that, but we'll mute ourselves and we will sing along to a hymn that is pre-recorded. But I'm really looking forward to that. So thanks again, Matt, for everything, and we'll see you next week. That's it for this edition of St. Mark's at Midweek. Thanks to our associate producers, Emily Wright and Lucy Grindon. Another update from St. Mark's next Wednesday, and our regular worship podcast on Sunday. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and be good to each other. I'm Carri Patterson Grindon.